24th September. Well, our dear viewers, that has been a recap of a parliamentary plenary session between members of the National Assembly and the Ministry of Education. And to just take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon. And remember, before I take you through the highlights in the order of business this afternoon, allow me to inform you this, our dear viewers, is that such recaps will be coming to you every other Tuesday. So stay tuned for such and more information, as well as comprehensive packages from the House. This afternoon, the House will be considering the Manx Bill, this being a bill from the Senate Bills number 13 of the year 2022 by Honorable Paul Zengu, who happens to be the co-sponsor of this bill that is being considered at the National Assembly as well as at the Senate. Enhancing of reporting on matters parliamentary business on online platforms is another motion lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the chairperson, Matters Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library, that the House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms. The move of the motion on the report of the Consolidated Fund Services expenditures for the supplementary estimates for the financial year 2024-2025 is set to reply on this motion. This is the chairperson, Matters Public Debt and Privatization Committee. And away from that, the public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution by the chairperson, Public Petitions Committee, is also set to be debated this afternoon, with the mover called upon to reply upon the lapse of the time allocated for debate. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bills number 24. It is National Assembly Bills number 11 of the year 2024, rather, by the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party. This is a bill at the second stage, or popularly known as the second reading. For subsection 2C, a couple of members of the National Assembly will be seeking statements this afternoon. Member for Teso North, Honorable Oku Kaunya, will be seeking statements in regards to the delayed delivery of modern training equipment to Chamasiri Technical and Vocational Training. This is a statement that will be sought and handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Education. Member for Kilifi North, Honorable Owen Bayer, has a statement in regards to the implementation of nuclear power plant project at Oyombo village in Kilifi County. And this is also in Kilifi North constituency, that will be handled by the Departmental Committee on Matters Energy. Renewal of standardization mark for the Kenya Bureau of Standards is a motion set to be a statement so to be sought this afternoon by Honorable John Kiarie, who is a member for Dagoretti South. The statement that is being sought this afternoon in regards to the renewal of standardization mark from KEBS will be handled by the Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. This afternoon, we'll be expecting the Committee on Matters Administration and Internal Security to respond to a statement that was sought by Honorable Eden Kainan, the member for Eldas. The statement was in regards to the disappearance of Honorable Yusuf Hussein, the MCA for Delaware. This, I want to believe, is in Wajir County. At any moment now, we'll be expecting the Speaker's procession to make its way to the chamber this afternoon for the commencement of business. And as we await for that, there is a motion on the alleged unfair trade practices by foreign investors in Kenya that is lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. The committee, through its chairperson, seeks to have the House adopt the report of the Departmental Committee on Matters Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on the inquiry into the alleged unfair practices by foreign investors in Kenya, and the committee already laid its report on the table of the House on the 7th of March this year. The second report of the Employment Diversity Audit in Public Institutions is another motion lined up for debate this afternoon. This motion is by the Committee on Matters National Cohesion and Equal Opportunities. The committee laid its report on the table of the House on the 21st of March this year. The Speaker carrying the mace, followed by the Sergeant-at-Arms carrying the mace, followed by the Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Moses Wetangula, are already into the chamber this afternoon, signaling that the business of the House is just about to commence. Allow me, our dear viewers, to now hand you over for this live broadcast brought to you by KBC, and this is also in partnership with the Parliamentary Business.
Mheshimiwa, tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, ambaye kwa hekima na wema wako umeteua na nyadhifa za viongozi na mabunge kwa ustawi wa jamii na utawala wa haki wa wanadamu, tukusihi utazame kwa neema nyingi sisi watumishi wako ambao wameridhika kutuita ili tutekeleze shughuli muhimu za jamhuri yetu. Tukuomba uteremshie baraka zako sisi tuliokutanika hapa, na tujalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote tutakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili utukufu na sifa zako siendelezwe, na ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. We have quorum. Clerk, we have quorum. Proceed.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, September 24th, 2024. 1. The following legal notices from the Water Resources Authority. A. Legal notice number 139 of 2024 relating to the Makamatargui Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. B. Legal notice number 141 of 2024 relating to the Fafi Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. C. Legal notice number 142 of 2024 relating to the Pui Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. Legal notice number 143 relating to the Mereroni Mbaruk Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. E. Legal notice number 144 of 2024 relating to the Siani Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. and legal notice number 145 of 2024 relating to the Kibirong Wetland Catchment Protection Order 2024. 2, implementation status of the Special Funds Accounts Committee report for the financial year 2018, 2020, 2019, 2021, 2022 from the National Treasury and Economic Planning. 3, reports of the Auditor General and financial statements of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NG-CDF, for the year ended 30th June 2023, and certificates therein in respect of the following constituencies: Dagoretti South, Gatundu North, Kibra, Limuru, Roysambo, and Starehe. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. I thank you.
Thank you, Owen. Papers under Roman 1 are referred to the Committee on Delegated Legislation, and paper under Roman 2 is referred to the Committee on Implementation. Chairperson, Select Committee on National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NG-CDF. Musa Sirma. Majority Leader, where is the chairman of NG-CDF?
I thought I saw Musa sitting somewhere here. I must have seen you.
Did you see him, or you saw the likeness of him?
I saw his figure around.
Yes, Clive?
Speaker, I'm a member of the committee, and he said he'll be here in 1 minute.
Pardon?
He's coming in 1 minute. I'm a member of that committee.
Okay, let's go to the next order. Honorable members, as you may be aware, the NG-CDF was once again crucified for all the wrong reasons. And the case we have been having in court had a judgment on Friday, which judgment I'm sure you have all read. So after putting questions at order number 8 and 9, I've been requested by the leadership to allow you 1 hour to ventilate on the matter. There he comes. And in addition to that, there is a committee of lawyers in the House led by Senior Counsel Otienda Molo, Murugara, Osoro, Makali, and all the others, Mutuse, Wakili Mureu, Kaluma, Kajwang, who have been giving pro bono services to the House on this matter. I have invited them to a meeting tomorrow at 11 in the Speaker's boardroom, and I've invited your leaders, the majority and minority leaders, to join in so that they can brainstorm and see what remedial actions to take. Thereafter, sometime next week, I'll avail you a Kamkunji to ventilate on the matter, and want to tell the gracious lady members of constituency, county constituencies, that ukiona cha mwenzako kinanyolewa, chako. Okay, we'll go back to Musa Sirma.
Apologies, Mr. Speaker, as I was collecting the document for coming late. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 24th of September 2024. Report of the Select Committee on National Government Constituency Development Fund on its consideration of the proposed budget ceiling for the constituencies for the financial year 2024-2025. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Let me confirm.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, let me give information to members. Today, the 24th of September, Mr. Speaker, I and the chairman of the Education Committee visited our able CS for Treasury, and he did a great job to us today. We managed to be, they released 7.8 billion shillings for the Constituency Development Fund, so the arrears is only 5.7. Mr. Speaker, we know it is late, but of course the situations are also very difficult. Mr. Speaker, this money is 3.4 billion from the Ministry of Education, which had been put on CDF, and the matching fund of 3.4 billion together comes to 7.8. And the members of the Nairobi, 1 billion shillings, which had been given, Mr. Speaker, has been released. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Oku Kaunya.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Education regarding the delayed delivery of the modern equipment for Chamasiri Technical and Vocational College. Honorable Speaker, Chamasiri Technical and Vocational College was established in September 2019 with the aim of providing quality technical and vocational education. Currently, the institution has an enrollment of 1,700 students, demonstrating its importance in the education sector. On 10th December 2021, the Cabinet Secretary for Education, while on a visit of the Chamasiri TVC, conveyed the government's plan to provide modern training equipment that are through the funding of African Development Bank. However, despite this promise, the equipment was never delivered, and reports indicate that it was redirected to another technical institution. This matter was raised again in November 2023 during a visit by the then Cabinet Secretary for Education, Honorable Dr. Ezekiel Machogu, to the institution, who reassured the institution that the equipment would be delivered by March 2024. Indeed, the equipment arrived in the country in March this year. However, months later, it is yet to be delivered to the Chamasiri TVC. Honorable Speaker, the matter has persisted for 3 years and continues to pose significant challenges to the institutions and its students. The continued lack of practical equipment has severely impacted the quality of education, as students are forced to rely solely on theoretical instruction without the necessary tools for handling the learners. This situation not only defeats the entire essence of technical and vocational colleges, but also jeopardizes the skills development and future prospects of these students. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson, the Departmental Committee on Education, on the following. 1. reasons why the equipment funded by the African Development Bank, which was initially intended for Chamasiri TVC, was diverted to another institution in another constituency. Number 2, reasons for the delay in delivering the newly received equipment to Chamasiri TVC despite being received several months ago. Number 3, specific timelines for delivery of this equipment to Chamasiri TVC, including measures to avert further delays in this matter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, Committee of Education. Where is Melly? Yes, 2 weeks, Honorable Malulu Njendi.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. We'll invite the CS to our committee, but I also want to alert the member that we usually invite also members when the CS is making a presentation so that the member can also get information from the CS directly during the committee sitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Owen Bayer.
Request for statement regarding the implementation of a nuclear power plant project at Uyombo, Kilifi North constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the chairpersons of the departmental committees on energy and environment, forestry and mining regarding the implementation of a nuclear power plant project in Uyombo Village, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North constituency. Honorable Speaker, the Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA, is a state corporation established under the Energy Act 2019 with a mandate to promote and implement Kenya's nuclear power programs, including carrying out research, development, and capacity building in the energy sector. NUPEA recently initiated the process of implementing a nuclear power plant project in Uyombo, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North constituency and put up a mast at the location. Honorable Speaker, the production of nuclear energy is a delicate and dangerous process that threatens the existence of people in its surroundings. Further, the people of Uyombo have rejected the implementation of a power plant project due to risks that will negatively affect their lives and generations to come. This project poses significant risks such as radioactive reactions and leaks, nuclear waste disposal, permanent destruction of the ecosystem, and lack of capacity to handle accidents. Moreover, it will impact their fishing activities and the tourism industry at large. Honorable Speaker, Article 10, as read together with Article 69 of the Constitution, prohibits implementation of any public project without public participation. While NUPEA partially complied with this provision, concerns have been raised to the way the exercise was conducted. The public participation was marred by use of excessive force, discrimination against the people of Uyombo, harassment and unlawful arrests of locals who are apparently being coerced to accept the implementation of the project on their land. Honorable Speaker, Article 43 of the Constitution also entitles individuals whose land is compulsorily acquired by the government to receive certain compensation. Notably, the nuclear power plant project is being implemented on land belonging to individuals, persons who possess legal ownership documents of the land and face the risk of being relocated from their land. Regrettably, implementation of the project without compliance to the law and adherence to the directives and guidelines has deprived the people of Uyombo of their rights in accordance to Article 42, as read together with Article 70 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, although the project has been proposed to be implemented only in Uyombo, Masangoni Ward, Kilifi North constituency, there is a real existential threat to the whole country in the unfortunate event of a disaster. Many countries have discouraged nuclear energy production and refrained from it due to its dangerous impacts. African countries, including Kenya, have yet to demonstrate their ability to handle nuclear disaster, making Uyombo nuclear project a big risk. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Energy and Environment, Forestry and Mining on the following. Could the committee jointly conduct an inquiry to establish whether there is a breach of constitutional provisions, and if so, provide a detailed report with recommendation on the implementation of the project to ensure proper processes are followed for the safety of the community. 2, clarify whether public participation was conducted within the parameters of the law, considering that the majority views which rejected implementation of such a project were ignored. 3, provide details of the environmental assessment report of the project. 4, also inquire into the arbitrary arrests and use of excessive force on the people of Uyombo in apparent bid to force them to accept the project. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, clarify whether Kenya is prepared to handle a nuclear disaster, and if so, provide the policy measures put in place to handle such disasters. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Chairman of Energy, Kawaya. Any member of the committee? Yes, 2 weeks. Bring a statement in 2 weeks. Thank you. John Carrier, member for Dagoretti South.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to request a statement regarding the renewal of standardization mark from the Kenya Bureau of Standards. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives regarding the renewal of the standardization mark from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, also known as KEBS. Honorable Speaker, in 2023, KEBS revised the standardization mark, SM, permit, extending the validity period from 1 year to 2 years. This change raised concern among businesses, particularly small and medium enterprises, SMEs, as an annual renewal period aligns better with their financial planning, operational cycles, and ensures product quality and safety in a rapidly evolving business environment. Moreover, questions have arisen about the alignment of this 2-year cycle to KEB's mandate of supporting fair competition in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is also deeply concerning that companies restarting operations after COVID-19 related shutdowns are facing back pay penalties by KEBS. These penalties impose a significant financial burden on businesses already struggling to recover from economic hardships. Such measures hinder rather than support job creation and economic recovery, which are crucial for the growth of the nation. Instructively, the regulatory environment should support businesses, especially SMEs, in their efforts to create jobs and to contribute to economic development. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Trade, Industry and Cooperatives on the following. 1, the rationale behind extending the validity period of the standardization mark and the impact of these on product quality and the fair competition, especially for SMEs. Number 2, justification for imposing back pay penalties on businesses restarting after COVID-19 related shutdowns. And 3, Mr. Speaker, the measures that the Ministry of Investments, Trade and Industry is taking to ensure the regulatory environment supports SMEs in economic recovery rather than penalizing these businesses that are recovering from the COVID-19 shutdown. Mr. Speaker, I thank you. I signed this statement on the 13th of August, 2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, KJ. Chair Trade, Kakuya. Vice Chair.
Chair, you can give us 3 weeks.
How many?
3 weeks.
Standard time is 2 weeks. Why do you want 3?
We are requesting for 3 weeks because we know we have the bill on cooperatives that we need to finish.
Okay.
So because of
3
that, we're
weeks.
requesting 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Thank you.
Response to a statement by Adan Kainan, right? Yes. Tongoyo, are you ready to respond to the statement of Honorable Kainan?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Member of Parliament for Eldas constituency, Honorable Adan Kainan, has requested for a statement regarding the disappearance of the Member of Assembly for Dela Ward, Honorable Yusuf Hussein. And in particular, he wanted specifically circumstances under which Honorable Hussein was abducted and the status of investigation into his mysterious disappearance, which was reported at Makadara police station. And of course, the step that the relevant government security agencies have taken to ensure that the missing MCA is expeditiously traced and reunited with these people, and the security measures that the government has taken to guarantee safety of all leaders in order to protect them from potential incidents of kidnapping and other form of violence. Honorable Speaker, I want to state as follows. On 13 September 2024, at around 2140, Wambua Kioko reported through a phone call via open number 8613, September 2024, the abduction of his passenger. The reportee is an Uber driver and a resident of Embakasi, stated that while within South Sea, Halala Estate, he received an online request from the customer to be dropped at Pangani Heights Estate. However, along Lusaka Road.
Yes, Honorable Kamket, what is out of order? Yes.
Mr. Speaker, the matter the Honorable Chair is responding to is very serious. It involves an elected member. And the decibels of consultations are too high for us to hear what the Honorable Chair is saying.
Okay. Order, members. Those who are consulting, do so in lower tones. Tongoyo, endelea.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. So I just want to pick from where I left. On 13th, on 2024, that around 2140, Wambua Kioko reported through a phone call via OB number 8613 of September 2024, the abduction of his passenger. The reportee, Honorable Speaker, is an Uber driver and a resident of Embakasi, stated that while within South Sea, Halala Estate, he received an online request from a customer to be dropped at Pangani Heights. However, along Lusaka Road, past Lusaka Enterprise roundabout and near Ola petrol station, a black Prado motor vehicle whose registration number was not captured blocked them. 3 men who had masked their faces alighted from the said Prado and opened the passenger door of the taxi, where the passenger was seated. They grabbed and pulled him out of the car before dragged him to their Prado. The passenger dropped his mobile phone and make iPhone 13 inside the Uber during the commotion. The abductors further robbed the Uber driver of his telephone number, a Samsung Galaxy A025 make, valued at around 14,000, and a cash amounting to 250, before speeding off with the victim. The scene was visited, and it was established that the abductee is the Honorable Yusuf Hussein Ahmed, the MCA for Dala and Nole Ward, Elder constituency in Wajir County. Honorable Speaker, the case is still under investigation and the search is still ongoing at the time of writing this response. On the third question, Honorable Speaker, the following measures has been taken to ensure the security. The National Police Service has made as the mandate of providing security to all Kenyans in all parts of this country, and the police officers are therefore continuously sensitizing on upholding the rule of law and constitutionalism. And any leader who is intimidated or harassed is encouraged to report to the nearest police station, and investigation will be commenced without delay. Creating awareness to all members of the public to report any suspicious character within their location, and the intensifying both mobile and foot patrol. And the adoption of multi-agency approach in collection of intelligence and the heightening of security surveillance. So, Honorable Speaker, you know this matter was brought last week before you, and we also share the concern of Kenan and other members from that region that truly this is a very sensitive matter because it concerns an elected leader, and the police are still searching the MCA, and we want to ensure Kenyans and this House that the culprits will be brought to the books, and we are going to do anything within humanly possible to be able to bring this person, the missing MCA. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you have had on 13th September this month, an elected leader from my constituency, from one of the wards, was abducted. That is 14 days ago. Mr. Speaker, one of the platforms this regime used when they were campaigning was that there will be no abductions, there will be no illegal confinement, and there will be no extrajudicial killings. One of the
anything within.
Yes, Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you have had on 13th September this month, an elected leader from my constituency, from one of the wards, was abducted. That is 14 days ago. Mr. Speaker, one of the platforms this regime used when they were campaigning was that there will be no abductions, there will be no illegal confinement, and there will be no extrajudicial killings. Mr. Speaker, the statement issued by the chairman, and I must admit that it's just a conveyor belt, lacks substance completely, and it does not allude to the circumstances of the missing leader. Mr. Speaker, here is a situation. You know, everywhere right now there are CCTVs. Everywhere in Nairobi there are CCTVs, Mr. Speaker. Is an elected leader. The road, the Enterprise Road, just next to where this particular leader was abducted, has so many CCTVs, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, by now, those who are in charge of this particular sector know the identities of the tormentors of this particular MCA. They know the details of the cars. They know everything, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, while it is the right of every Kenyan to enjoy the right to be heard, the right to be tried fairly, this era of illegal confinement, Mr. Speaker, and abduction is something that has never been anticipated in the current constitution, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this answer, as it is right now, has not said anything, has not shed any light. He only said we are investigating. 14 days, Mr. Speaker, since an elected leader has, of course, every Kenyan has the right to security, but here is an elected leader, Mr. Speaker. He is still missing. Mr. Speaker, I want to also table, Mr. Speaker, just for the information, that on 6 August, this particular leader was summoned by the County Security and Intelligence Committee of Wajir, Mr. Speaker, and this is what the letter says. The Honorable Yusuf Hussein, MCA, Anole Delaware, the telephone, meeting with the County Security Committee of Wajir. You are told you are requested to, I've just learned this, Mr. Speaker, and this is what the letter says. You are requested to attend a meeting on Thursday, 8 August 2024, at the County Commissioner's Office, Wajir, at 10 a.m. The County Security and Intelligence Committee...
Kainan, you seem to be reading from a faded copy of a letter.
It's a copy, Mr. Speaker. It's an official letter. I'll give it to you. I'll hand over. You can counter-check. It's official.
Okay.
And I'm too old, Mr. Speaker, to bring anything that is not properly validated. Mr. Speaker, the County Security and Intelligence Committee wishes to discuss with you issues touching on the security within Dela and Olewan. I want to table this document, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, taking this into account, this is a lead document. Meaning, therefore, there must have been some issues between that particular MCA and the County Security Committee. If that has been escalated to the national level, we are not saying he has committed crime or he has not committed crime, Mr. Speaker. But if truly this person who has been missing, why don't you produce him and take him to court? And therefore, Mr. Speaker, this answer, and I empathize with my good friend Gabriel, you have not said anything. They have not given you anything. In fact, they are setting you up. This answer has not said anything at all, on the whereabouts of that particular leader. And therefore, Mr. Speaker...
Pass on the letter to him. You have made the point. Bashir? Major Bashir, give him the mic. 1 minute.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I listened to the response by the ministry concerned through the chair, and I can attest to the fact that that response is very, very shallow. Honorable Speaker, the individual abducted is an elected MCA, and it's not a coincidence that on the 8th of September, he was summoned by the County Security Committee, and on 13th, he disappeared. And I think the era of abductions is something that is still with us, unfortunately. So we call upon the government, especially the security agencies, to immediately and urgently find where the MCA is. The family is agonizing. They don't know what to say. And the worst part is that the National Police Service has not even come to address this matter and even talking to the families concerned to tell them what they're doing about it. We want them to do what they are supposed to do, to protect lives and properties of Kenyans. And we ask them to tell us where this elected MCA is at this point in time. It's now 2 weeks since his abduction. And there are CCTV cameras in the whole of this country, especially in Nairobi. How come they are unable to know who abducted the MCA? The Uber that he has used has recorded a statement. They can see it. He knows. However, the CCTV cameras cannot be traced. It's unfortunate also. So we ask that statement is not...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have listened to the response of the chairman of the committee I belong to. It's not sufficient, Mr. Speaker. It's 14 days since the honorable member was abducted. It's very unfortunate, sad to the people who elected him, to the people, to the county he comes from, Mr. Speaker. We are unable to stay our homes. We are unable to do our day-to-day activities because of this honorable member who is missing. All indications are there, Mr. Speaker, to show that this indeed honorable member is taken by the people we suspect. We demand the security agencies, Mr. Speaker, to bring back our honorable member, to bring back the honorable member for Anole Dela Ward, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we don't know how we are going to go back to our constituency and county if this honorable member is not brought back to his people. It's on that note that I'm asking my chair, the committee that I belong to, Mr. Chair, it's a matter of urgency that we bring back our son, our leader. If today a honorable member is missing, then it doesn't make any sense. Anyone can miss any time, any day, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Yes, Tongoyo.
Honorable Speaker, first of all, I think I did actually indicate that I really feel the frustration from the members from the said county.
Have you seen the letter whose copy came
I haven't, and I think as it should be treated, not to be as it is for now, Honorable Speaker, the instability of the letter is in question. Maybe we need your guidance. But having said this, Mr. Speaker, we all know such situations, investigation could be complex. And the members already alluding or making a suggestion that it is the officer, the MCA was abducted by the security agency, which cannot be substantiated either. So I would rather we leave it open. The investigation is ongoing, but we should not conclude that he was abducted by the security agency. That is an assumption, Mr. Speaker.
What you do, Honorable Tongoyo, that letter, that no soliciting, that letter has a telephone number, and on the face of it, the signatory is a DC, or you call them what? Is a county commissioner rather. So get the letter after authentication by the clerk, then get to your team at internal security and bring back additional information on this on Thursday afternoon. Yes.
Thank you so much for that guidance, Mr. Speaker. I want to confirm, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I want to confirm beyond reasonable doubt that that letter comes from the County Security Committee, and therefore here it is. Mr. Speaker, I also want to table an affirmation by one great Kenyan taxi driver called Wambua Kioko. Is also an affirmation, and the oath, I also want to table it because the content is also very clear, so that as the chairman responds to this,
Okay, Nan, the taxi driver's testimony is not disputed. Tongoya said...
I want to give him the whole detail, Mr. Speaker, the whole affirmation,
Yes.
the whole, so that, for the benefit, so that he benefits also from this. But Mr.
Okay.
Speaker, finally allow me to say this. You have been around. You have gone through the ladder. You have served the three arms, actually, let me say, almost the three arms of government. You know what it is.
Not
What-
almost, I have.
You have served the three arms of government, and you know what it takes. Mr. Speaker, no amount, and I want to Togoyo and other groups to hear this, no amount of blackmail, no amount of intimidation, no amount of whatever somebody wants to do will allow us to forget the existence of Honorable Yusuf Hussein. Those who are holding him, I want them to hear where I am. I want them to hear what I'm saying. We will not allow you to get away with that crime. Produce Honorable Yusuf in court.
Yes.
That is what the due process demands.
Will not allow.
Produce him to court. Produce him in court. Deal with him in court. But hold him in, Mr. Speaker. We will not allow it. That is not the modern day Kenya. that we
Give
want.
the papers to the
And the-
clerks. Honorable members, allow me to acknowledge the following schools in the gallery. Kalulini Comprehensive School from Kibwezi West, Makueni. Oak Tree Primary School from Mavoko, Machakos. Timao AI PCA Mother Council from Buri, Meru. Kamwiru Boys Secondary School, Kirinyaga Central, Kirinyaga. Honorable Kaimenyi, Women Leader Meru, has asked me to acknowledge the Mother Council from Timau. You can do so in 1 minute and welcome the rest of the schools on our behalf. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I really want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to welcome the Mother Council from African Independent Pentecostal Church of East Africa, of which I belong. They are from Timao in Bori constituency. I also wish to thank them for the forward looking. As you can see, Mr. Speaker, these are ladies, young ladies, and I want to congratulate them for their efforts, showing leadership even as they are ladies. Sometimes we think the reverse gender is more forward-looking, but you can see they are just ladies from Mother Council. Mother Council is the leadership of that church. Mr. Speaker, I also wish to thank also the students who are here with us and acknowledge them for wanting to have more knowledge even regarding this parliament. So please feel welcome and thank you again, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, on Thursday, 19 September 2024, on my behalf, the Chair of the Health Committee, Honorable Pukose, issued a statement, the usual Thursday statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 17 September 2024, to prioritize business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, it was indicated to the House that the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry would appear before the House to answer questions tomorrow, Wednesday, 25th September 2024. However, I am in receipt of a letter from the Cabinet Secretary stating that he is out of the country on official duties. He is accompanying His Excellency the President to the Republic of Kenya to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA 79 in New York. Honorable Speaker, following further consultations, we have scheduled the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy and Sports to respond to questions that touch on the following thematic areas. A, state of preparedness of key sporting facilities to host international events. 2, 1, appraise on the state of preparedness of the country in terms of infrastructure facilities and other logistics to successfully host international sporting events, more specifically the planned hosting of the African Nations Championship, CHAN, and the Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON. 2, state the current condition of key sports facilities in the country, including their maintenance, modernization, and suitability for hosting international events. And 3, provide specific measures on strategies put in place by the ministry to accelerate the completion of the stalled or incomplete stadiums across the country. B is facilitation of national sports teams, to state the measures in place to ensure timely preparation, coordination, management, and facilitation of sports teams to represent the country in various sporting disciplines. And C, Honorable Speaker, is a mandate of the Kenya Academy of Sports, to 1, appraise on the challenges facing the Kenya Academy of Sports in the development of grassroots talent in the country and the measures to address the challenges. And 2, outline the number of sports academies that have been set up nationwide, including details of their effectiveness at the grassroots level and whether there are strategies in place to ensure their continuity. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Next order.
Order number 8, the Mark Beans Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2022, second reading, question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats. Members on their feet, Busia Women Rep, take your seat. Honorable members, now I put the question at the order number 8, which is that the Mang Beans Bill, Senate Bill number 13 of 2022, be now read a second time. As many of that opinion say aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay. Nay. The nays have it. Next order.
Order number 9, motion, enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms. Question to be put.
Order, members on their feet, take your seats again. Take your seats. Honorable Naisula and the member for Bumula, take your seats. Honorable Ruku, take your seat. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 9, which is that this House adopts the report of the Select Committee on Parliamentary Broadcasting and Library on enhancing reporting of parliamentary business on online platforms, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 4th October 2023. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, I had promised you that I'll allow you 1 hour to ventilate on the issue of NG-CDF, and I will invite your leaders, starting with the majority leader on NG-CDF judgment, and then followed by the minority leader. If we can give them 5 minutes each, then the rest of the members, you can take 2 minutes each. Is that okay? If we say 5 and you have 1 hour, very few will speak. So let's do 3. Kimani Ichung'wah, you can go with 5 minutes. Junet, be ready with 5 minutes. Junet, be ready with 5 minutes. Then the rest will do 3-3-3.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, there has been a misconception that NG-CDF is a fund that belongs to members of Parliament. And indeed, Honorable Speaker, for those who have taken time, and I'm sure many of us have have read the judgment that was pronounced by the courts, there is also that misconception within the courts that NG-CDF is a fund, as it were before 2015, where MPs are still patrons of this fund, and far from it, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when I read that judgment, I could not help myself but clearly see that this was more of a political judgment than a legal judgment, Honorable Speaker. The politics in that judgment, Honorable Speaker, speaks volumes. Honorable Speaker, I am not a lawyer, but interpretation of the law is just as simple as reading plain English. With all due respect to the lawyers in this House and seasoned ones like yourself, Honorable Speaker, who has also sat as on the bench. Honorable Speaker, when
the judges pronounce themselves on matters touching on CDF and claim that there is duplication of functions between NG-CDF and the county governments, Honorable Speaker, that is a language spoken by the Council of Governors, Honorable Speaker. And we should not lie to ourselves that the judges are simply saying what the Council of Governors has been saying. Honorable Speaker, when we recrafted the NG-CDF Act from the old CDF Act, the NG-CDF Act was very particular that NG-CDF will only serve two particular functions, that of education, excluding the early childhood education, ECDE, that is a function that belongs to counties. And there is not a single constituency, Honorable Speaker, that I know of where NG-CDF money is utilized either to construct or to take care of ECDE classrooms in our primary schools, Honorable Speaker. The other function of NG-CDF touched on security, and there is absolutely nothing in the county government architecture and the functions under Schedule 4 of our Constitution where county governments deal with matters security. It is NG-CDF that has helped even in areas where banditry and even acts of terrorism, like in Lamu and other areas, Honorable Speaker, and parts of northern Kenya. It is through NG-CDF intervention to establish police posts and police stations, Honorable Speaker, that we have helped the national government in dealing with matters in security. The county governments, even in those very dangerous areas, go to the North Rift, go to northeastern Kenya, there is not a single county government involved in security work, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, because I see my time is over, I just want to plead to our judiciary, Honorable Speaker, that you have no reason as judges to seem popular with governors. Honorable Speaker, because that judgment is just a popularity contest judgment for judges who pronounce themselves, Honorable Speaker, on that matter of NG-CDF. But may it be known to them that without NG-CDF, there are children in this country who will never access education from the bursaries they get from NG-CDF, Honorable Speaker. There are children in this country, Honorable Speaker, who years ago, without CDF, were studying under trees without classrooms. Honorable Speaker, with the recent floods, many of our schools had either classrooms or even Honorable Speaker, I was saying with the last floods, either classrooms or ablution blocks that were swept away by floods. Without the intervention of NG-CDF, Honorable Speaker, there are children who will not be in school today, Honorable Speaker. I know we have another chance with the Court of Appeal and all the way to the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker. And we also have a chance to correct what we need to correct from this House because we are the law-making House. If we have to recraft another NG-CDF Act, let us do it, Honorable Speaker. If we have to anchor NG-CDF as we proposed under the NADCO bills in the Constitution, it is high time we now anchor NG-CDF, not for the sake of members of Parliament, but for the sake of the people we represent. Those people who have no voice if we don't speak to them. Those people who judges cannot hear unless we speak to the judges. Let us ask our judges to drop the politics, leave NG-CDF alone, and allow the children of Kenya to access education, allow the people of the North Rift, allow those who are terrorized by terrorists to live in a country where they are secure.
Junet.
Mr. Speaker, I can't agree more, Mr. Speaker, with the majority leader that this is a political judgment, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there is no act of parliament that has been subjected to litigation more than the CDF Act, Mr. Speaker. And this is done basically by people who hate members of parliament. They are not doing it for anything else other than hatred that they have for members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when I read the judgment of Mr. Speaker of the court, I was shocked, Mr. Speaker, because in 2013, the same act was subjected to litigation, Mr. Speaker, and at that time they were saying that Parliament is dividing the revenue into three: national government revenue, county government revenue, and the CDF, Mr. Speaker. Subsequently, this House did an amendment and did the division of revenue, where the money was divided between the county governments and the national government, and the CDF was put under the national government, Mr. Speaker. There is no difference between a ministry that is getting an allocation from the national budget of the national government than the CDF, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was shocked to see in the judgment of the court that one of the reasons why they are saying this act is unconstitutional is because Parliament passes 7 names of members of the CDF committee, Mr. Speaker. How many names do we pass here? We pass even names of commissions, we pass names of county secretary, we pass names here, PSS, AG, we pass here even commissioner of what this is called, commissioner communication authority, Mr. Speaker. Now, what is the problem of passing names here? The other thing that has shocked me about this judgment, Mr. Speaker, is that they are saying the term of the fund manager is for 5 years, which is equivalent to 5 years of being a member of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. There are fund managers who have been in office for the last 20 years, Mr. Speaker. I don't know where the judges were reading, what they were reading, Mr. Speaker, whether they read the submissions of our lawyers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am shocked because the judges behaved as though they live in another country, Mr. Speaker. Recently, there was a burial in my constituency, and I must say this, of a judge, Mr. Speaker, and the funeral was conducted in a primary school, and those classes were built by CDF, Mr. Speaker. They were not built by county government or built by anybody else. Mr. Speaker, the way the CDF has changed the lives of Kenyans, Mr. Speaker, every person knows in this country, including judges. Do they not go home? Do they not come from villages in this country, Mr. Speaker? And people, I'm asking the judges on the floor of this House, from the floor of this House, Mr. Speaker, in my constituency alone, there are over 3,000 to 4,000 students who benefit from bursary. Children of single mothers, orphans, Mr. Speaker. Where do they expect us to take those children, Mr. Speaker? If CDF is scrapped, the best thing I can do is to put those children in a bus and bring them to the homes of the judges, Mr. Speaker, so they can give them fees, so that those children can go back to school, Mr. Speaker. You can't make the lives of Kenyans miserable by just doing a judgment that does not make any sense, Mr. Speaker, according to me. And we are allowed to critique judgment, Mr. Speaker. They had their say, we must have our say here on this floor, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have been a believer, I have been a supporter of the independence of the judiciary, Mr. Speaker. But now I've come to believe that judiciary now is living in an ivory tower, and they must come down from that ivory tower, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the problem in this country about the 3 arms of government, the other 2 arms of government, the executive and the legislature, are subjected to accountability through elections after every 5 years. Judges are never accountable to anyone. They are accountable to themselves and to JSC, where majority of the members are judges, Mr. Speaker. And you just wait until you reach 70 or 74 years and you retire. You are not accountable to anybody. How do you want to make the lives of Kenyans so miserable by saying that CDF is not doing anything? Mr. Speaker, CDF is unconstitutional. This is a judgment that has been procured by the Council of Governors, Mr. Speaker. And it is out of egos. They don't want any other money. They don't want any other money to come to the constituencies or to the villages, Mr. Speaker. And what is happening in devolution, you know, all of us, and everybody in this country knows. Corruption, pilferage, lethargy, incompetence. The only money, Mr. Speaker, that has touched the lives of Kenyans for the last 20 years is the CDF, Mr. Speaker. And I want to tell the One minute. Mr. Speaker, the name of the fund is NG-CDF, National Government, Mr. Speaker. It's not county government, it's not judiciary fund, it's not parliamentary fund, it's not anybody's fund. It's the national government money that is going to the constituencies so that it can build schools, it can build classes, it can build police station, and they're saying there's duplication of functions. We don't do anything outside what the national government is doing. Security and education are not devolved functions, Mr. Speaker. Counties don't do that. Will education improve if today's CDF is abolished? Mr. Speaker, we are going to appeal this judgment, but we will also do a constitutional amendment We have the powers even to amend the constitution. The judiciary doesn't have. You can declare the act unconstitutional as many times as you like, but we will make sure CDF remains in this country, Mr. Speaker. I submit.
Yes, Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was privileged to be a member of parliament before CDF came into being. I was privileged also to see Engineer Karue apply his creative mind, Mr. Speaker, and come up with this unique development initiative, Mr. Speaker. And I've seen what CDF has done. I have represented 2 constituencies, Mr. Speaker. The number of development projects initiated in my former constituency called Wajir West and my current constituency called Eldas, Mr. Speaker, through CDF is more than the combined development initiative since we got independence, Mr. Speaker. In our place, we say CDF is our government. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask myself, the framers of the current constitution, we read Article 1, sovereignty has been equated to representation. Who are these busybodies who want to disregard representation, Mr. Speaker, and rubbish the role of the elected members of parliament, Mr. Speaker? I have one message for you. We have seen the actions, the inactions, the activities, the inadvertence of these busybodies, whoever they are. Can you stand firm? Can you stand firm as members of parliament? It's not about the usual complaining, no. Can you stand firm, bring a constitutional amendment so that we entrench the NG-CDF in the constitution so that we remove it from the ambit of this gullible and vulnerable busybody, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, for how long shall we deny Kenyans the right to enjoy a piece of the national cake, Mr. Speaker? I'm shocked and dismayed, Mr. Speaker, to see a ruling, and ideally, Mr. Speaker, the role of the 3 arms of government, Mr. Speaker, is interdependent, is to support each other for the good of the well-being of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. But when you have a targeted approach, Mr. Speaker, to rubbish one arm, then doesn't add value. Mr. Speaker, finally, what I want to say is this. When the members of parliament are elected here, or the framers of the current constitution, Mr. Speaker, some of the functions have been devolved. After this, you will hear provisional administration is illegal because NCDF only covers education and national security. Are those 2 functions, Mr. Speaker, county functions? They are not county functions. These are national functions. So, colleagues, if you want to remain relevant, I know it's not the ambit of the members of parliament because we have delinked NCDF from the member of parliament. It's completely an independent entity. That still is being pushed to the member of parliament. I beg you, if you want to remain relevant, if you want your constituents to develop, stand firm, wake up tomorrow, put your heads together, put this entity, entrench it in the constitution so that there is no room for any busybodies. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Kadambi. Charity Kadambi.
No, see.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. Allow me to contribute like my colleagues. In this country, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would wonder which Kenyan has not seen the changes which CDF has really brought in this country. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, my issue is to remind people that what CDF is doing in this country, I doubt if there is another fund which is doing what CDF is doing. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, with the changes, with the poor children we are taking to schools, with the schools we are changing, with the security offices we are constructing, with the administration offices we are doing, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am so much worried that there is people up to now, they have not seen what is happening. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I am contributing because myself being the 2nd term member of parliament in Joro constituency, what I have done in my constituency, Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the 1st term is what has brought me the 2nd term. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing here to remind our colleagues, let us unite this journey. This is war against development. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is now the high time we united as members of parliament. We change even if it means changing the constitution. so that we can make sure that the CDF is well anchored in the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have gotten a lot of challenge every time. Whichever time we are doing our works as members of parliament from single constituencies, actually we are not at peace because every time we are distracted by so many cases in courts. And Mr. Speaker, sir, as I'm standing here today, Kenyans are asking, are they safe? Are their children going to go to schools? Are they expecting more constructions of schools when they have seen the challenge which has taken recently in the courts? Mr. Speaker, sir, let me confirm that Kenyans are worried that today there is a threat for the CDF. Therefore, for colleagues, please let us wake the 290 constituencies. Let us protect the development. Let us fight for our children. Let us fight for the development for this constituency through CDF. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much. It is for us to unite and say no to whoever is against our development matters. Thank you.
Yes, Chairman CDF. I would have thought you should have been the last to speak on this. Oh, yes. You are the committee chair. Listen to others. You'll speak last. Naisula. Chairman, hold your horses. I've been seeing you menacing me with gestures.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to rise to also contribute on the judgment on NG-CDF, Mr. Speaker, and to say that we cannot overemphasize the importance of NG-CDF in our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. There is this notion among many people that NG-CDF is pocket change for members of parliament. I want to say without fear or favor that if there is one fund that there is accountability for, it is NG-CDF. NG-CDF goes to the constituency with an AIE, with what it is supposed to do, and the money follows that AIE. And so even when auditors come to the ground, Mr. Speaker, they have to go and see whether that classroom has been built. They have to go and see whether that police station has been built. They have to see whether that child has gotten bursary, and that is the truth on the ground, Mr. Speaker. And if there is anybody who thinks that there is a member of parliament who is misusing these monies, Mr. Speaker, we have investigative bodies, Mr. Speaker, which we should go and follow up on those monies and that member of parliament, Mr. Speaker. But we cannot be blanketly be condemned to be corrupt, that NG-CDF is our money, Mr. Speaker, when that is not the point, Mr. Speaker. We can also not be a house of lamentation. We are the ones who make the laws in this house, Mr. Speaker. We will not wait for NADCO report to entrench NG-CDF in the Constitution. We should extract NG-CDF from NADCO reports so that we bring it to this house as a standalone issue to be entrenched in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Because we might wait for NADCO reports until God knows the 2 years are over, the 13th Parliament should be remembered as the house that entrenched NG-CDF in the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, so that this cannot be a ping-pong game depending on who is on the bench, Mr. Speaker. The second issue, the hate that Honorable Junet has talked about is true. People just generally hate members of parliament. And so I wouldn't even be surprised after it has been entrenched in the Constitution, the judiciary saying it is unconstitutionally inside the Constitution, Mr. Speaker, because of just the hate people have towards members of parliament, Mr. Speaker. To conclude, I want to say this, now that I'm on the floor, Mr. Speaker, to remind the executive, Mr. Speaker, that there is one cabinet secretary position which has not been filled in this country, Mr. Speaker. We are
KJ.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker. And it is to say that the courts...
Order, KJ. Yes, give her 1 minute.
Please allow me to say this, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. 1 minute. There is a position of a cabinet secretary that has not been filled in this country, and I want to remind the executive, just in case they have forgotten, we do not have the cabinet secretary of gender and affirmative action, Mr. Speaker, in this house, Madam Speaker, sorry. If it was another ministry, I want to assure you, by today, the replacement of that cabinet minister would have happened. We cannot continue business when we do not have the cabinet secretary of gender in this country, Mr. Speaker. It should be, the cabinet secretary should be appointed like yesterday, Madam Speaker. Even if it is a man, we need a cabinet secretary of gender in this country.
Thank you. What's your point of order, Honorable Donya?
Madam Speaker, I'm just worried Honorable Junet is insisting that it is a man. We have not refused if it is a man, a boy, girl. What we want is to have a minister for gender in office. We keep on talking about gender mainstreaming, helping our young girls and women. How can we, Madam Speaker? Yes, we know it is CDF, but
Thank you. Honorable KJ, you may proceed. You are on the floor.
Madam Speaker, I thank you and I acknowledge the change of guard. Madam Speaker, the courts had their day. Today it is Parliament that has its day to remind the courts that even the courts can err, that they can make mistake, Mr. Speaker. When you read that judgment, Madam Speaker, you notice a fundamental fault in how they were deciding on this matter. One of the bigger issues, Madam Speaker, they were saying that the constituency cannot be a unit of devolution. But Madam Speaker, we all know that NG-CDF is not a devolved fund. In fact, the word that she should be using is that national government has decentralized the monies from the center to the 290 constituency, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. And it is also to disabuse the notion, Madam Speaker, that anyone can imagine that by removing NG-CDF, they are punishing a member of parliament. Madam Speaker, in the Goreti South constituency, the NG-CDF is not to benefit John Carrier. The NG-CDF has renovated all primary schools in the constituency. It has built in excess of 7 new schools. Out of the 12 new schools in Nairobi, 7 of them are in the Goreti South constituency. Madam Speaker, it has improved the working status of the officers in Gao, made sure that our people are served in dignified places. So, Madam Speaker, I would want to agree with all the members who are saying that Article 95 and 96 allows this House to make laws, Madam Speaker, and no other entity can make laws. And if that be the case, then we, as the 13th Parliament, must agree that we are the people who are going to entrench this NG-CDF in the Constitution so that it can continue bettering the life of members. Finally, Madam Speaker, we all agree that even if we have devolved units called counties, the devolved units called counties has served more as devolution for corruption rather than devolving services to the people. Madam Speaker, Nairobi City County receives in excess of 30 billion Kenya shillings from division of revenue and monies that they raise as own revenue. That means that in the Goreti South constituency every year, I should be feeling the impact of around 2 billion Kenya shillings coming from Nairobi City County coffers, Madam Speaker. But if you go to the constituency called the Goreti South constituency, what you shall find are the projects that have been put up by this most visible, best managed, and most effective fund called the NG-CDF. So, Madam Speaker, let's do what is necessary. Let us entrench NG-CDF in the Constitution to make.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the presence of Kiwanzani Academy from Kitui West constituency, Kitui County, who are seated in the public gallery. On behalf of the members of the National Assembly, we welcome you to Bunge. Thank you. The Honorable Amolo Otiende.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, first, let me recognize and thank the team of lawyers that did this matter pro bono, Honorable Chepkonga, Honorable Mrugara, Honorable Kaluma, Honorable Mutuse, Honorable Muriu, Honorable Makali, Honorable Soro, Honorable Mogaka, and myself. Madam Speaker, we have no doubt as a team that the decision rendered by the High Court is wrong on so many fronts. It is wrong on the role of the MPs in CDF. It is wrong on the role and term of the fund account managers who are not in any way connected to the MPs. It is wrong on following the obiter dicta by the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court rendered an opinion on an act that had since been repealed and therefore is not binding. And for the avoidance of doubt, Madam Speaker, we have already agreed that we will appeal that decision. The good thing is that after declaring the act unconstitutional, the court did a suspension of the declaration of invalidity for 2 years. That is enough time for us to prosecute a number of things. It is enough time for us to prosecute the appeal. You will remember, Madam Speaker, that previously the High Court declared the previous act unconstitutional. The Court of Appeal did not agree and affirmed it, and only the High Court then agreed with the only the Supreme Court then agreed with the High Court. It is quite possible that we might follow a similar trajectory on this matter. Madam Speaker, secondly, and this we have said before, the ultimate solution to all this push and pull is amendment of the Constitution. And that amendment, Madam Speaker, we have already agreed, even in the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, that we want to make it a standalone amendment away from the entire NADCO report. It is our view as the lawyers and at the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that we can execute that amendment without requiring a referendum. Madam Speaker, the beauty is that once we have entrenched the NG-CDF, then the constitutional provision cannot be unconstitutional. It will be along the lines of having entrenched the judiciary fund, and that then should be a proper cushion. But once we do the amendment, we will then again have to redo the act itself by bringing a new act, which will be in line with the amendment. Madam Speaker, a lot of people do not understand, and if you allow me just one more minute, Madam Speaker, that before CDF and before devolution, before decentralization, the situation was very, very bad. You had a situation where there were parts of this country that would not even get 1 cent. It is only the CDF that goes to all the 290 constituencies in this country. It is only through devolution that... Just as I'm finishing, Madam Speaker, we must also pass a message to, as I'm closing, Madam Speaker, the real drivers of these cases is not even the 2 people who went to court. It is the governors, it is the Senate, and there's some particular NGO called the Institute for Social Accountability that has kept bringing these cases on instigation of these others. We must tell them that even if these funds went away, they will not go to the governors, they will not go to those who think that they will get it, not even the Senate. It will re-centralize and you will not see that money. And with that, Madam Speaker, let us also demand that the balance of monies that should have been given in the last financial year, about 50 million that is owed to each constituency, be now released so that we can do the projects that ought to have been done. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Wakili Robert Edwin Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ventilate on this very wrong judgment which has been passed against NG-CDF. Madam Speaker, I was part of the legal team which represented Parliament on this matter. We were able to ventilate on a number of issues, and to our surprise, Madam Speaker, out of 9 key issues, none of them the court was able to appreciate, despite the fact that we were able to put in the proper legal position, the constitutional position, but the court came in as a biased court. Madam Speaker, my worry and concern, because in any trial, you are able to get the things which are not being said. but the petitioners, whose name has been alluded in this house, the Council of Governors, our Senate, they have one key issue, which I would say is a sibling jealousy. In this sense, Madam Speaker, a council could stand before the judges and say, look, now you are members of parliament, this money you'll be using as pocket money to campaign for it. It tells you the kind of conversations that are being said behind our back. Madam Speaker, I think it's important that we put it very clearly that NG-CDF is a fund under the national government, and the national government can be able to spend that money as provided by the Constitution. Second, Madam Speaker, I noted one of the key drivers of NCDF and success level is because 90% of the fund goes to development, things and tangible things which benefit the common person. In the opposite, the County of Governors, they know very well, they spend 90% of their money doing trips and doing other mundane things which has no benefit to our people. Madam Speaker, I'm trying to urge the members of parliament, let us not lament like people who have no hope. This parliament has power to ensure that we're able to cure this issue or these myriad issues of litigation against NG-CDF once and for all. Though, Madam Speaker, we are going to the Court of Appeal. We have a strong case. We know we can be able to win it. But the ultimate goal is to ensure we have entrenched the fund in the Constitution in such a way that in the future, nobody can come back and claim that the fund is unconstitutional.
Let me give the Honorable Millie Odhiambo, then I'll come to you, Honorable Osoro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I just want to inform Senior Counsel Honorable Tiende Amolo that part of the reason they're having problems is the entire legal team was men. There's no women, and yet there are brilliant women lawyers like me in this house. Next time, put us there, and we'll help you. Secondly, Madam Speaker, in areas that have been predominantly opposition, the only fund you can rely on that is changing lives is CDF. Third, Madam Speaker, in my own constituency, I have seen us move from mud-walled, grass-thatched schools to permanent schools. I would want to encourage the judges and people who live in cities to do an immersion in the village so that they know the reality. A lot of people do not know the reality on the ground. The people who are posh in cities, the lawyers and the ones who are lofty, go to the ground and learn the reality. Madam Speaker, I would also want to say that in relation to the law, our judges, especially Supreme Court, have been very liberal and progressive in interpretation of the Constitution. That is why they even interpreted the Constitution to include gay rights. But when it comes to development, then they start telling you, Montesquieu, separation of powers. I have no problem with separation of powers as espoused by Montesquieu many years back. But Montesquieu does not come from my village, Kolo in Rusinga Island. He does not know what people go through. That is a very good concept that something good is finally coming out of Africa, which is the issue of NG-CDF. Development. And Madam Speaker, I was just discussing with Honorable Tiende Amolo that we must be brave as lawyers. And if there is one legacy we must leave in this house, is to entrench the fourth role of a member of parliament in this country, which is development. If it does not come through NG-CDF, it will come through my pocket. That is the reality. And the members that came before us were overwhelmed. That is why they promoted this. Right now, the role of MPs has totally been removed. But MPs are still being harassed. Put it and make MPs have a role. I have no excuse. Anybody can bash me what they want. But as an intellectual and as a bright lawyer, this is one thing I am willing to defend to my grave. Bora usiguze NG-CDF. Wengine wanasema bora usiguze mulima, mimi bora usiguze NG-CDF. Hapo tutapigana.
The Honourable Member for South Mugirango, Honourable Sylvanus Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I also want to associate myself with the sentiments that have been made by my colleagues. And I also do not want to delve so much on the judgment that was delivered last week, because I've actually gone through it. In all aspects, I'm actually against it by all standards, because it actually does not meet jurisprudential, authority in all aspects. I mean, the learned judges, Honourable Speaker, only focused on what we call the school of thought in jurisprudence that we call positivism, where they are so keen on unnecessary positivism and they ignore the element in a very social matter, ignore the socialism jurisprudence, ignore the natural law in all aspects, Honourable Speaker. But I do not want to go that direction, Honourable Speaker. But of importance, Honourable Speaker, for me, it is the character of the Council of Governors. Honourable Speaker, NG-CDF is 2.5% of the national budget. Each constituency gets about 130 million thereabout when you do tabulation. County governments get a minimum of 15%. In fact, this house gave them in the last financial year 25% last financial year, about 25 or 26% thereabout. In the last financial year, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, when you do tabulation, you'll realize that in the 2.5% that we get, or the constituencies get in terms of the NG-CDF, each constituency gets about 120 million at the highest, or 140 million shillings. Honourable Speaker, with the allocated amounts in the counties, some counties that get about 11 billion in the shared revenue, place in their budget 500 million for the office of the governor's expense. 500 million. But NG-CDF for the consumption of the common mwananchi, only 100 million. With 11 billion in some counties, and even some of them getting up to 15 billion, you will actually need a microscope, and I've said this several times, to see what governors do. But they were the first people to go in court, Honourable Speaker. They applied to be interested parties in this matter. They even wrote a letter to the Chief Justice. And in now very common character and demeanor of the current court, Honourable Speaker, they've applied what we call judicial activism, populist rulings, populist judgments, where they now get their jurisprudence from Facebook, from social media, from messages they get, and sometimes from some political leaders who are against very important concepts.
Order number 15, the Energy Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 42 of 2023, second reading, division.
Order, Majority Leader. Honourable Senators, I'll proceed to put the question that the Energy Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 42 of 2023, be now read a second time. You may proceed to vote.
That this was a wrong move to deny Kenyans and the population of the children an opportunity to be in school. Look at the scenario now. First of all, it is delayed all the time. And then now it is said it's unconstitutional. So, Madam Speaker, I think that the court needs to sit down and rethink. The judges, I am not against the judges, but I think they should rethink this, reconsider what they said about NG-CDF. They are not in contact with the people in the village. Their job, their responsibility makes them detached from wananchi. But if they were to sit in the village and sit with the locals and drink uji with them, they would understand what parents and the children from the vulnerable families are going through. NG-CDF, it's like the evolution itself. Without this, we will reach Nairobi, we will reach the Ministry of Education, even to bring a query to that sector for what is going on through our schools, through our students. So I beg that they reconsider, and instead of telling us 2 years, then they rather just disband Parliament, because we have no business being here. Madam Speaker, it is disappointing, and I'm praying that they change their mind.
The Honourable Member for Mwingi West, Honourable Charles Ngusia. Pressing the bell, the intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just want to join my colleagues in what they have said. CDF doesn't belong to members of Parliament. CDF belongs to Kenyans. CDF, we have got a testimony of the number of people who have been educated, orphans who have become doctors, orphans who have become pilots, orphans who have become lawyers because of the matter of the CDF, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I just followed the ruling in the court, and it seems majority of the 3 judges, actually, they don't have even children in this country. Because they are rich, they think they can only educate their children in London without depending on CDF, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, removing the CDF out of this country is going to be travesty of justice, because it is the only fact we have seen in all over the constituencies, in all the villages in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is high time we educate the judiciary that money, the CDF money, is not for members of Parliament. We need to support it. I ask the fellow colleagues, let us move very fast. We entrench this fund in the Constitution. Let us move very fast. We even change the Act, even anything that is contagious for these funds, Madam Speaker. I want to support my colleagues, and we are not going to let the CDF to go anywhere. Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
The Honourable Didi Raso, Member for Saku. Still time, it will get to
Thank you very much,
and we can speak for
Honourable
2 minutes,
Speaker.
more people will participate.
Honourable Speaker, I have this belief that judges and lawyers are the best people in town. But sitting back and listening to that judgment, I have my own doubt that our judges, I think, are not well informed. They do not understand the chemistry, the history, and the character of this country. Without CDF, the children of the Dasanach, the people who live on the shores of Lake Turkana, will not be able to go to school. The El Molos, the Sakuyes of Dabel. For those of us from the pastoralist communities, the marginalized, we feel that CDF is the fund that has arrived. When on just a span that 3 judges can sit at the bench and say this is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional to who? CDF is about the people of this country. If there are no people, then there's no constitution. What does the constitution serve? Madam Speaker, as a house, we have a duty. Our responsibility is to make laws for this country, and the best laws for that matter. And we must enact the laws for CDF, that it must be enacted in the Constitution, so that those judges must feel that the House has powers to do what is right for the people of this country. Madam Speaker, without CDF, 3/4 of the children of Marsabit today are not going to school. If no CDF, there will not be enough school in the pastoralist areas. But what the MPs have done is to think around, to think out of the box, to allow the people to settle and to allow schools to be put up. education is the greatest equalizer. If no CDF, then there'll be no that equality. For that reason, I agree and I accept what the honorable lawyers who represented us in court are saying. Let us move with the speed and enact the national government CDF in our constitution. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for South Imenti, Honorable Shadrach Mwiti, who was actually the first this afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Education is a pillar in this country, and for this country to prosper, education is very important. Secondly, Madam Speaker, security is vital to protect our people, and NG-CDF is very critical for us to make education and security. Madam Speaker, I concur with my fellow honorable members that NG-CDF is very important to be dispersed through the honorable members of this House. Madam Speaker, there is a perception, especially from the county government, that the members of the National Assembly don't utilize the funds in the right way. Madam Speaker, if you assess our constituencies, you'll find that most of the projects are done by the members of the National Assembly and not the county government. Madam Speaker, interference of the NG-CDF means crippling development in the constituencies, and also, Madam Speaker, it means bringing down the central government. The funds from the NG-CDF are from the central government, and there is no relationship between the NG-CDF and the funds in the central government. Madam Speaker, I support that the Act should be entrenched so that we can have the funds having disbursed or having no more interference in the future. Madam Speaker, it is frustrating when the legal fraternity is interfering with NG-CDF, knowing very well that the children of this country, the bright students, and also the disadvantaged students are highly supported by the NG-CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member from Mbeere North.
Madam Speaker.
Then after that, it's you, Honorable Oundo.
Madam Speaker, thank you. CDF has played a very critical role when it comes to the marginalized areas, Madam Speaker. We have many constituencies, many areas in the Republic of Kenya which are extremely marginalized. Recently, Madam Speaker, I went to ensure a school which has mud-walled classrooms in my constituency last week to ensure we change the face of that school. And those photos, Madam Speaker, when I posted them on my social media, many Kenyans could not believe that we have such kind of schools in some of our constituencies. Without CDF, Madam Speaker, many children who are going through CBC curriculum will not be able to enjoy an environment where they can nurture their talent as far as CBC curriculum is concerned. We not only have such kind of primary schools at the moment in our constituencies, in marginalized areas, but we need to change the face of such kind of schools. If we don't have CDF, Madam Speaker, most of our communities, most of the children of the very poor in marginalized areas will remain disadvantaged, will remain in big problems, and they will not be able to achieve what they are supposed to achieve, because these are, in most of these marginalized areas, you'll find we have very bright kids who can go even to AFANT through scholarship if they go through the training process, the schooling process in the most appropriate way. Madam Speaker, I want to rebuke the judgment which was made by the 3 judges. It's high time this House come up with the amendment of the Constitution so that we can entrench CDF in the Constitution, so that kids, children of the very poor can also be able to enjoy the education which other kings of the rich are enjoying. It can't be. It's only in academies where we have proper running atmosphere. Even in those areas, the kings of the very poor, they also deserve proper environment where they can nurture their talent, they can nurture their skills, and they can be children of the world. They can be able to work in every corner of our nation, not only of our nation, but every corner of the world. Madam Speaker, I support what the members have said, and we need to craft.
The Honourable Member for Funyula, Honourable Ounda.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity. Let me take this opportunity to sincerely thank our colleagues who stood in for us during this long, odious battle to save the lives of the people of Kenya. Honourable Speaker, I attended the judgment that Friday, and we left with the heavy legs, heavy heart, and I can see my friend Droppings was here with him, and I sincerely felt that it was extremely unfair on the tone and the wording and the way the 3 judges dispensed of the matter. Honourable Speaker, I want to tell the people of Kenya very, very clearly. Number one, the import of the judgment was that a constituency is not a service delivery center. So it means essentially any person who votes in a constituency is simply a voting machine whose voice cannot be listened in the eyes of the judicial officers. They simply said, Honourable Speaker, they only recognize the counties. They do not recognize the constituencies. In their own words, they say that constituency is merely a center of representation, but it's not a center of service delivery. So therefore, people of Funyula constituents, for example, cannot come together and go anywhere and demand development. They'll be told by virtue of that judgment, you have no local standard, whether that's right or not, to demand any development. Honourable Speaker, I want to take the judges through history. We used to have rural district-focused development. And Honourable Speaker, you saw the inequitable distribution of resources in this country. Up to now, Honourable Speaker, there are parts of this country, they have never seen piped water. There are many parts of this country, Honourable Speaker, if it wasn't for CDF, they will not even have a classroom in their constituencies. And we want to appeal to the judiciary. Do not live in ivory tower. Just come down here and realize how bad things are. Come down here and see the importance, the impact of NG-CDF. Compare with the 12 or so years of devolution, and let's do a comparative analysis, Honourable Speaker. It does not require anybody to do anything. You simply have to appreciate. At times, the law judicial activism must be laced with public policy, public interest, Honourable Speaker. I want to urge our colleagues, time to lament is now gone. We must save the people of Kenya from these beast bodies in wherever they are. It's time.
The Honourable Member for Lamu East, Honourable Rueda Obo.
Asante Bispika. Nami nipate nafasi nizungumze kuhusu hii NG-CDF. NG-CDF kwa wengine, kwa maeneo bunge mengine, ndio pesa peke yake unatarajia. kama tuseme kama Lamu East na constituencies na maeneo bunge mengine mengi ambao wametengwa. Hapa tukiangalia rekodi, ukiangalia mambo kama kwa mfano stima bunge hii katika mwaka uliopita pesa ya bajeti iliyopangwa, utaona eneo bunge la Lamu Mashariki imepewa milioni 4 na maeneo bunge mengine kuna eneo bunge moja limepewa milioni 450. Hii pesa ya CDF, NG-CDF ndio pesa ikitolewa hakuna ubabe, kila eneo bunge limepata pesa yake, wanajipangia wale kulingana na zile na sheria inasema. Hivi sahihi pesa ikiletwa hapa national government, sisi itakuwa kwenda mbio, maeneo bunge mengine itabakishwa nyuma zaidi, tutatengwa zaidi. Kama haya ambao upande mwingine mbinu ya mambo yote ya serikali inafaa iende kama hivi inavyoenda NG-CDF. Kama ni stima, ni ile finance bill walitupa, lakini mimi nilipenda sana kwa sababu ile ilikuwa inasema kila eneo bunge ipate milioni 50. Nilipenda kwa sababu hiyo, ili angalau tupate milioni 50 kila eneo bunge, na zile zinazobakia kama atakuzichezea msondo, kule kwetu kuna ngoma inaitwa msondo, wazichezee. Lakini angalau tumepata kitu ya kufuatilizia. Sasa hii NG-CDF kuna kitu angalau eneo bunge inaweza tegemea, na huwa pia haitoshi mpaka tupate huku national government. Lakini ukiangalia zile za national government zinazoenda maeneo bunge yetu utasikitika. Mfano mzuri nimewapatia ni hiyo energy. Angalieni rekodi. Energy imekuwa kigawanywa vipi, na ambapo eneo bunge kama Lamu Mashariki haina hata inchi moja ya national grid. Lakini kama ilikuwa imefuata mtindo kama wa NG-CDF, tukiwa na hakika kila mwaka tuna milioni 50, ingekuwa imesonga kitu kidogo. Sasa hii tunasikitika na inatuuma sana, na hatujui anatulekeza wapi. Kwa sababu kama leo hivi ninavyokuambia, President alikuwa ametusaidia kwetu kwa sababu elimu iko chini, na madhara ya elimu kwetu yameonekana. Vijana wameonekana wakienda kule wanavyokwenda. Ikabidi tusomeshe walimu, tukapewa nafasi za kupewa kuandikwa kazi, ikawa walimu wamepatikana ni 2 peke yake wa kutoka Lamu Mashariki. Ni hii NG-CDF ilikuwa tuokoe, kwa sababu hii NG-CDF sasa hii wanasomeshwa
half a minute.
Sahihi walimu wako Islamic Teacher College, wako Shanzu, wako kila pahali, tunasomesha walimu 100 na hii NG-CDF ndio isaidie. Hao wanaosoma watapeleka wapi? Ambapo leo hivi niko na pressure kubwa ndugu yake Nurdin, mkwe wake Nurdin ambao ni chairman wa board, amewafukuza huko kwa sababu ya kunipunish mimi, ili kwa nini sijakubali Ishakani na Dar es Salaam Point iende ijara. Hivi ninavyokuambia imehappen, wanafunzi wamefukuzwa kwa sababu sisi hatujalipa hiyo pesa. Sasa NG-CDF ikitolewa sisi tunaenda wapi?
The Honorable Member Makilap.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to say from the onset that the ruling by the judges was actually an affront against the will of the people of Kenya that elected us to this parliament. Members of parliament represent the interests of the people of Kenya. We are the lawmakers. The judges are the law interpreters. It is now time again for members of parliament to let the judges that we are the legislators. We shall make the law again clear so that they should be able to interpret it correctly in pursuit for justice for the people of Kenya. Madam Speaker, NG-CDF removed Kenyans from poverty, from fundraisings. Many people were doing a lot of fundraising. Even people were being robbed of their livestock to finance schools, construction of schools, so that they sell animals so that they can be able to build the schools. The same citizens who are paid taxes, you follow them again to get money to build the schools. But when NG-CDF came into being, that problem is sorted out. Madam Speaker, this is an affront. If you look at even our brothers who are churches, they don't live in the grassroots. They are urbanites. They live in town places. They enjoy life in the cities, but they are not in the rural areas where the rubber meets with the road. Madam Speaker, over the weekend, through NG-CDF, we delivered a bus to one of the remotest places in my constituency called Guigui, a school that has over 1,200 students that have never seen a school bus. Madam Speaker, this is a serious matter that this House must prosecute immediately, because even the children of the brothers and sisters of churches who live in urban areas, they benefit from CDF because they get bursaries, Madam Speaker. Secondly, Madam Speaker, I want to let it know, Kenyans, that members of parliament are not managers. Churches, wherever you are, members of parliament are not managers of NG-CDF. Go look for the gazetted NG-CDF fund managers. We do an oversight. We do an oversight to ensure that the projects that have been actually planned are actually delivered within time. Madam Speaker, finally, let us now proceed to appeal this matter and come back within these 2 years that they have given us, concretize the law under the Constitution so that we restore order and tell churches.
The Honorable Member for Gishugu, Honorable Githinji.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. And let me start by thanking my colleagues who handled this matter on a pro bono basis. And let me also commit that I'll also join them in the next phase, because I believe we have very good grounds of appeal. And in a nutshell, courts cannot dictate how national government would want to use its money. It cannot dictate which units the national government can use in service delivery to the people, and especially on the functions that are exclusively being left at the national level. Madam Speaker, the other issue is that we have seen Council of Governors as parties in this case. The first question is Council of Governors, or does Council of Governors hold any legal capacity? Where is it registered for it to have powers to sue or to be sued? You know, those are some of the issues that can also be raised. And also, these are busybodies. Some of these parties are busybodies who are against public interests. And, Madam Speaker, it is also the right time to utilize this opportunity. I remember Honorable Mule from Matungulu and I were the trailblazers in trying to entrench the CDF into the Constitution. And along the line, NADCO came up, and we agreed that we bring everybody together so that we can be able to discuss. And now comes the second time, and a very good opportunity for us now as members of Parliament, with the overwhelming support that we had from everybody in this House, we'll be able now to entrench it in the Constitution, as we also take the opportunity to appeal against the judgment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Ugenya, Honorable David Ochi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have a different view from the rest of the membership. Madam Speaker, it cannot be said that the CDF is extremely important for the growth of this country. Madam Speaker, as a parliament, we have fallen short. Every time we've had a chance to deal with this matter with finality, we move in a hurry, we move with emotion, we don't do what's supposed to be done. We've amended the CDF Act so many times without getting it right. So, Madam Speaker, I believe that we can do this time round with a level head, a cool head, get it right. Let's entrench the constituency as a level of devolution. That's what the court is telling us to do. That if the ward is a level of devolution, can we entrench the constituency as a level of devolution? so that it works out. Number two, Madam Speaker, members of parliament representing constituencies, stop going out saying the CDF is your fund. It isn't your fund. Members of parliament say, oh, my CDF cannot be touched. It is not yours. But you go out talking about it as if it's your fund. That's what the court is saying. They don't want members of parliament putting their hands in CDF. I agree with their right. Let's change the law to ensure that what the court is saying is not right is made right. We cannot come here and start saying, oh, judges did this. That is their role. Our role is to make law. Judges' role is to interpret the law. We can't keep abusing judges every time they do something against us. It's not the way you run a country. Madam Speaker, let's move with speed and ensure that the amendment that we're going to propose, like Honorable Kennedy said, clinically deal with NG-CDF. Don't put things like Senate oversight or this and that. Let me give you an example, Madam Speaker. There's a bill I brought to this House in the 11th Parliament. Every member almost liked it. It was about moving election date from August to December. But on the voting day, we couldn't raise 233. We had 227, twice. If members believe in this, let's put our heads together. Let's get a good law. Let's not blame everyone else apart from ourselves. It's us to blame. We are the lawmakers. Madam Speaker, I support and I hope that we can soon do this to ensure that the CDF is entrenched right inside the Constitution. I support.
I think second last I'll give the Honorable Member for Masinga, Honorable Mwalio, because the Speaker had given us, I've added another 10 minutes, so I think we have to close now because we had 1 hour.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to be able to speak about the NG-CDF. Since I was elected in Parliament in 2017, I've been a member of NG-CDF committee, and I have seen a lot. In that committee, we move doing some inspections in all the constituencies, and I think I have been able to go around in almost 100 constituencies. What I have seen, you cannot believe what the NG-CDF has done. For example, we've been to Mheshimiwa Bayer's constituency, whereby a school has been built, a 4-story building, 4 buildings, big, using NG-CDF. You think that you are in alliance and you go to that school, and it is all done by NG-CDF. You go to Awendo, and where the students were passing is a big river, and one day they were swept, I think 20 or 30 of them, by the water, and NG-CDF constructed a bridge to the school for the children to be safe as they go to the school. So somebody dreaming that NG-CDF can end is just cheating himself, because this is the lifeline of all the constituencies, needy students, and the people. This year alone in September, in my constituency, I had 60 students who had been called in the university, and they could not even be able to be admitted because they didn't have any school fees. So we had to recall them where they had been employed. 10 had been employed as house helps. We had to call them and pick them from where they are employed to be able to pay for them the startup fees to enter the university. 5 were employed looking after cattle. We had to pick them and take them to the university. Who could have taken those students to school if there was no money for NG-CDF? So I think the judges don't live in this country. So they should be told that surely they should be able to look around and see what NG-CDF had.
The Honorable Sirma, you're going to have the last bite on this.
So now,
Honorable members.
Thank you.
I don't have that luxury to give one person more because of the time. It was 1 hour. The speaker added 10 minutes. That time is lapsed.
Put it on. Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity you have given me. Being the chair of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Committee of Parliament, I wish to thank the members who have contributed to this, and they have clearly shown that they mind about Kenyans, because Kenya is our country and we love it. I also want to thank the advocates of this House who gave pro bono service to this case. Mr. Speaker, I would say judges who dealt with this matter are failed Kenyans. And we want to say that they should have just resigned today so that they can go and explain, or they could go and face Kenyans so that they know the pain Kenyans are going through in their villages. Mr. Speaker, this fund is an equalizer to all other funding in this country.
The member from Marakwet West, what's out of order?
Out of order. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Sirma has made a very serious remark that the judges must resign today. Honorable Speaker, is it in order, knowing too well that the procedure for removal of judges from office, that the Honorable Sirma makes a remark to the effect that the judges who made the ruling must resign, knowing that the judiciary in this country is independent and there is a procedure for removal from office of a judge. Honorable Speaker, that remark must be withdrawn and should not be on record.
Of course, Honorable Sirima, you must withdraw that remark, if indeed you made it.
I said they have failed Kenyans, and if their conscience is right.
Order. Honorable Sirima, did you say the judges must resign for making this judgment? I said they should resign. Then did you say they must or should?
Should. I said they should, based on the consciousness of what they did against Kenyans.
Go ahead with your submission.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, CDF is an equalizer of development in this country. There are sections of this country who have been left behind, but CDF has brought them to be equal to other areas. Mr. Speaker, this fund is audited by 6 institutions. So therefore, when they say there is theft, I think it's a very wrong notion. Mr. Speaker, the judges mentioned that the CDF fund account managers, their term in the constituency is based on the term of parliament of the member of parliament. It is wrong, and they got it all wrong, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, all what we know is that according to the Act, the fund managers are moved from one place to the other based on their performance in various areas. Mr. Speaker, also the mistake they have done is to say that we are dividing revenue based on the national cake of the country. We are only taking money from the national government section of the amount of money which are allocated to the national government. So, Mr. Speaker, all this is wrong, and we want to say the governors who have gone ahead to fund these cases against the CDF, Mr. Speaker, it is time we bite the bullet also, that we should also move a motion and amend the constitution to abolish these counties, because if there are people who are corrupt in this country, are governors. There is no governor who finishes his term without going through court as he goes home. So they have stolen, and they have been found to be guilty in where they are. So, Mr. Speaker, it is time Kenyans thought about it, and we amend the constitution, abolish the 47 counties, and give us a lesser counties which are manageable with very few thieves. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Few thieves, no thieves. Next order.
Order number 10, report on the consolidated fund services expenditures for the supplementary estimates 1 for the financial year 2024-2025. Mover to reply.
Honorable Makali Mulu, you are to reply to this motion.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking all the members who contributed to this important motion. The motion on expenditures on the CFS, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, just to remind the members, because I know it's a long time since we debated this, in the supplementary budget 1, the CFS expenditures, Honorable Speaker, the only item which changed was the item on pensions, where we were requesting that we get additional 23 billion to take care of the arrears and also take care of some amount which had not been factored in for civil servants who have retired. So I want to appreciate the members, but it's worth also noting, Honorable Speaker, the CFS expenditures in totality have been increasing year in, year out. And what is happening, Honorable Speaker, that is really trying to restrict our fiscal space in terms of getting money to spend on other important activities in the country. So even as I reply to this motion, Honorable Speaker, it is important that all of us as Kenyans, and more so under the leadership of Treasury, it is important that we very closely monitor what is happening with our CFS expenditures. And the highest expenditure in this area is the public debt. So issues of public debt, Honorable Speaker, continue to be issues of concern, issues of national importance, and I think as a House, we should be also putting our voice into this matter so that we allow more fiscal space in terms of expenditure. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and once more appreciate all the input from the honorable members. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I do reply.
Makali Mulu, you want to come back?
Yeah, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to come back, and I want to, I'm standing on standing order number 53, Honorable Speaker, where I want to, 53, Section 3, where I want to request that we defer the putting of this question to another day, Honorable Speaker, if you allow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, honorable members. The decision on this motion is deferred to the next time the matter is listed in the order paper. Next order.
Order number 11, motion. Public petition on funds spent contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Mover to reply.
The Honorable Mbai.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this evening I stand to reply to the motion which was occasioned by a petition which came to our committee regarding expenditure on public funds under Section 223 of our Constitution. Mr. Speaker, this was done. We went, we listened to the petitioner, we listened to several witnesses, we did our investigations, and we brought the report to the House. Consequently, we moved a motion, and Mr. Speaker, allow me to appreciate all the members who contributed to the motion and also finally gave it a broader adoption for the report. Mr. Speaker, the country lost over 400 billion shillings from the report we tabled, and the House, Mr. Speaker, adopted the motion, and that gave a broader adoption because we have 15 members of the committee and the House has over 300 members. So, Mr. Speaker, for the members to sit in the House and give time to discuss and adopt this report, Mr. Speaker, it has given it a wider strength to prosecute the issues going forward, because now it has been forwarded. It will be forwarded to the Implementation Committee. Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I'm grateful for even the leadership of the House. They all contributed, and from both sides, and also they did very well. Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply.
Is Honorable Mbai?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, following Standing Order number 53.3, I beg we defer putting the question to another date.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mbai. Honorable members, just like the previous motion, the decision on this particular motion will be made the next time this particular matter is listed in the order paper. Next order.
Order number 12, the Coffee Bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, second reading, resumption of debate.
Honorable members, debate on this bill had commenced, it had been moved, it had been seconded, and the Honorable Mogaka was on his feet. I know that he's in the House. This is the coffee bill, and this is a chance for those who want to do work for coffee to stand up. Honorable Mary Massey. You want to speak to the coffee bill?
Oh, I was queuing for a different one.
Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Ngusia. Honorable Gichimu, go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this coffee bill. Coffee bill is a very important, coffee is very important agricultural item.
Order. Honorable Mawadi, who gave you the chance to speak? This chance is for the member for Honorable Gishimu of Gishugu.
Mr. Speaker,
You didn't even request for a chance.
I did. I've been waiting.
Order. Honorable Gishimu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for confirming that this chance belonged to me. There is only one Honorable Gishimu member for Gishugu in this parliament, so I was wondering. But, Mr. Speaker, this is a very, very, very important legislation for the people of Gishugu and Kirinyaga at large. Honorable Speaker, I'm a coffee farmer myself, and I also represent very many coffee farmers in my constituency. It's one of the backbones and one of the main economic activities in my constituency. And that is why it is very, very important for me to contribute to this bill. Honorable Speaker, this bill, in part, but before I contribute, let me first of all say that this bill came before this House, or a bill similar to this came before this House in the 12th Parliament, and this House deliberated on this bill. We ably passed the bill with amendments, as having gone all the relevant stages of the lawmaking, and it was subsequently submitted to the Senate, where it died before the lapse of the last parliament. And it was revived in the Senate, and actually it captures most of the issues that we were able to deliberate in the 12th parliament. So it's a good opportunity now that it has come early enough that we be able to debate on it and pass it into law so that the coffee farmers in this country can benefit out of this bill and this law after it has been signed as an act of parliament. Honorable Speaker, the establishment of the board is a very, very important aspect of this bill, which actually runs from section 4 to 22. But Honorable Speaker, while I agree with most of the provisions, I will be proposing an amendment to indicate that the nominees that are supposed to be nominated by the Council of Governors, who ought to have knowledge in coffee matters, also ought to be farmers. Because it is not defined what is knowledge in coffee matters. I might have just read a book about coffee, and that can make me a person who has a knowledge in coffee matters. So for the farmers to have better representation from the unions, from the Council of Governors, I believe those two nominees by the Council of Governors, on top of having knowledge in coffee matters, also ought to be farmers. Another area that I will also be seeking an amendment is to exempt the farmers who are appointed by the largest union of farmers or organization of farmers to have 3 years experience in management. That will lock so many farmers who can be qualified, because farmers are supposed to be, their experience is in farming. It is not in management. So, Honorable Speaker, that is an area that I feel we need to exempt that class of people, or farmers, so that they are not locked out of the board. Honorable Speaker, I'm also delighted to see that part of the functions of the board is on market intelligence and market promotions for coffee in the international market. And going through the mygovernment.co.ke, I've also seen an article whereby Keproba and AFA have already signed an agreement for export promotion and market intelligence in coffee matters. And that is a reform in the right direction towards promoting and helping our farmers in this country to be able to command the already established market, and also to create or to come up with new markets so that our farmers can be able to increase their earnings. Because one of the problems that we've been facing is that we have over-relied on the traditional markets in the coffee sector. It is the right time we empower those agencies in this country who spend and use taxpayers' money like Keproba. Keproba was born out of merging of the Kenya Export Promotion Council and Brad Kenya, so that it can be strong enough to be able to market Kenyan products abroad, promote Kenyan products. And I think this is the high time that this agency is well funded so that it can take Kenya to the next level. Actually, in this country, Honorable Speaker, we have signed so many agreements. Yeah, we have signed the Kenya-EU trade agreements, the Kenya-UK trade agreements, but who is following up on these agreements to make sure that we utilize the chances that we have through this agreement so that we can be able to export as much as possible, build our forex, earn more money for our farmers. So I think this creates an opportunity for us, and especially in matters coffee, to have a body. And much as the board is also mandated in promotion and marketing of coffee, I think, and I will be proposing an amendment, that the 2%, that will be levied, that will be paid by the buyers, at least a slice of it ought to go to export promotion in matters coffee. And I think this will really, really help our farmers in solidifying the existing market and also the emerging ones. Honorable Speaker, I will also be proposing an amendment that we delete Section 8 or Clause 8Q, whereby it is proposing that the Cabinet Secretary can also assign other functions to the board. That will be leaving a very open check to the Cabinet Secretary. We should have exhaustive functions that have been given to the board, but we cannot leave the Cabinet Secretary to assign other functions. We cannot further delegate that function. It's only Parliament which has, the Cabinet Secretary can only make regulations, but cannot be left to give the board other functions. Honorable Speaker, there are many, many other areas that I will be looking at, and I'm also happy that the budget for cooperative society has been capped up to 10%, so that the cooperative society do not also exploit farmers. Because some of the cooperative society charge farmers up to even 25% of the proceeds to go to the expenses. This is a reform towards the right direction, and this is a bill worth supporting. There are many, many other amendments. Because it's a lengthy bill, I will not be able to cover each and every clause, but I will be proposing amendments that are pro-farmer, that will help farmers, and that will also help farmers to be able to earn more out of their sweat of coffee, which has been invaded by cartels for many years. It is the right time, and I'm happy also the Capital Markets Authority have also taken its place to sanitize that space of the coffee exchange. I support, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Member for Embakasi South.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute in this very important bill. It's way overdue in us putting back Kenya into the face or the competition of the coffee market. Let's consult. So, the formation of the Coffee Board of Kenya gives us an advantage, gives our farmers an advantage of being able to get a place. Not only can they hold their meeting, but also promote coffee and look for coffee market on behalf of the coffee farmers in the country. There are some points in this bill, though, that probably need a little bit of amendment and probably changing. Because on part 3, item number 23 talks about role of county government, And then A, it says, implement the national government policy relating to coffee. How can the county government implement the national government policy relating to coffee. That portion needs to be amended as Mheshimiwa Geshomo has indicated a short while ago. Also, two additional items. I believe the licensing of a coffee farmer is not a bad idea, but the filing of the returns on a monthly basis is too demanding. It is putting too much on the coffee farmers. Let's allow for some of these policies to be generated by the board. Let's not micromanage the board. Having said that, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you. Honorable Uyai of Saboti. Okay. Honorable Oundo of Funyula.
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to make my contribution from 3 points of view. The first point of view, Honorable Speaker, is that I'm a consumer of coffee. I like drinking coffee. Secondly, I'm a Kenyan, and for many, many years, coffee was considered the black gold of Kenya. Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, allow me also to make a contribution on the strength of my membership in the Committee of Trade, Industry and Cooperative, in which a big chunk of this bill is going to be domiciled, so to speak. And Honorable Speaker, let me also take this opportunity to state that recent studies have suggested part of Funyula constituency and part of Ugenya are suitable for coffee plantation, coffee growing. And probably even the coffee grown in those areas could be of much more value and of higher quality compared to the coffee grown in Kirinyaga, where my good friend comes from. Honorable Speaker, we must say it is long overdue to have a standalone bill or act of parliament to regulate the coffee sector. The coffee sector has been on a down spiral for many, many years. And it's indeed important that this bill comes through. And I also commend members from the so-called Mount Kenya region, the Murima, for having spearheaded this agenda since the 12th Parliament. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I just want to make a few comments here and there in respect of the bill. First of all, Honorable Speaker, the bill essentially is an act of parliament to provide for the establishment of Coffee Board of Kenya and the Coffee Research Institute, but more importantly, to provide for the roles of the national and county government, the regulation, development, and promotion of the coffee industry, and for connected purposes. Honorable Speaker, the bill has provisions that are going to be cumbersome. There are provisions in this bill that are going to be onerous to the coffee farmer and any player in the coffee sector. Yes, it's good to regulate, but Honorable Speaker, any form of overregulation kills the spirit and intent of the business. It will be necessary to relax some of the provided provisions here to such an extent that we make it an asset, since it's already an established industry, let it grow. Whatever the so-called cartels, the so-called malpractices, Honorable Speaker, are a creation of human being which you can cure by prayers by the Almighty God. Honorable Speaker, first of all, we start with the problem of definitions under Clause 2. For example, Honorable Speaker, coffee grower is defined as a person who cultivates coffee in Kenya. It's linked to a licensed pulping station and may be for purposes of licensing, include a cooperative society, coffee union, association, or an estate. What happens, Honorable Speaker, if I grow coffee as an ornamental crop? Does it mean that then I'll have to register or even if just grow it for purposes of my own consumption. Honorable Speaker, I also have issues with clause 8. And I thought whoever the co-sponsor has been here, clause 8, and this concerns the composition of members of the board. In clause 8B2, it says those are elected under clause section 7(1)(e) and F, which are the two people for smallholder coffee growers, and F, and the largest association of estate growers. They say that person is only required to have a certificate of secondary education. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, there was an article in the newspaper, I think Daily Nation, from Kipra, which bemoaned that the poor productivity in the cultural sector is simply because the sector is dominated by persons of low academic qualification or educational levels. Honorable Speaker, we will not cure the malady, the malaise, the challenges in the coffee sector if we again entrench the stereotype that only people of low educational level who can participate in agriculture. We must open it up and probably enhance the level, because quite a number of MPs here are coffee growers and are fairly educated, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, again, there are quite a number of, when you go to clause 15, which talks about the recruitment of the chief executive officer. I would have imagined that should be the collective responsibility of the board, so to speak, as a corporate body, instead of having that responsibility being undertaken by the boards of directors in their individual capacity or severally. Honorable Speaker, again, these are the areas that we need to move amendments. Honorable Speaker, in the absence, again, when you go to clause 21, in the absence of the chief executive officer, the documents of the company ought to be signed by the company secretary in the first instance, or in the absence of the company secretary, probably then a person appointed by the board. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the roles of the county governments, again, we are now in the constitutional moment, as was stated in the CDF Act, requiring the a member in the county government to collaborate with law enforcement agencies to enhance security in the coffee growing area. It cannot work, because a CEC, an extension officer or employed by the county government, cannot direct members of the National Police Service to undertake any service. Honorable Speaker, recently we passed here the county government uniform licensing bill that has to go back to Senate for mediation. It has got very elaborate procedures on licensing various businesses and various activities at the county level, and that's cuts across the entire country. Honorable Speaker, I would imagine any form of licensing should therefore follow the procedures set down in the bill to avoid duplication and to avoid granting, in some instances like clause 25, discretion to a county executive member to issue a license or to deny a license. Honorable Speaker, clause 30 provides that the board may license a laboratory. I am of the view, considered view, Honorable Speaker, that the board has no capacity to license a laboratory. The body authorized to license or accredit a laboratory is Kenya National Agricultural Services, KENAS. So obviously that amendment has to be done. Honorable Speaker, if you go through the various clauses of the bill, provides that the grower, the seller, the what, will be submitting returns every month. Honorable Speaker, this is cumbersome and necessarily too expensive. If you understand the coffee auction process, the coffee processing process, Honorable Speaker, requiring all actors to submit returns every month is cumbersome, it is not workable, and you'll have repetitive data that offers no value to statistics. Would therefore probably suggest in the committee of the whole House on the issue that probably they do it on quarterly basis or any other frequency that the Cabinet Secretary, in consultation with the Council of Governors, might decide, might direct. Honorable Speaker, I'm happy there's the traceability component. I'm happy there is the issue that if there has to be any form of blending, then it must be very clearly stated. Honorable Speaker, the coffee of Kenya. So any form of blending that devalues or dilutes the taste of coffee must be stopped completely. Honorable Speaker, let me thank whoever is involved. We will make amendments to make it far much better so that we have a better bill with us. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Nandi, the woman rep for Nandi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very important bill on the floor of this House today. Honorable Speaker, I must state that Nandi County is a coffee growing area from a long time. And Honorable Speaker, if you ever happen to visit my house, there is one coffee tree that is used as a flower but produces very good quality of coffee when harvesting time comes, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it is something that had ceased existing in some parts of Nandi that used to do very well in coffee because of the issues of the unpredictable prices and the lack of structures in the cooperatives and the selling of the coffee previously, Honorable Speaker. But Honorable Speaker, especially being the woman rep for Nandi, Honorable Speaker, and being keen on development and being keen on empowerment of women, we have a vibrant program called Mama na Kahawa. And Honorable Speaker, we distribute coffee seedlings. And in the first phase, Honorable Speaker, we distributed 100,000 coffee seedlings to women in Nandi County to be able to plant the coffee seedlings in small scale. Honorable Speaker, we are very ambitious this year and we are already propagating coffee, 0.5 million seedlings to be distributed for the planting season of May, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, that brings me to the point that this particular bill has come at a very good time, Honorable Speaker, and it is a very important bill, Honorable Speaker, regarding for the farmers of coffee. Honorable Speaker, coffee has been called the gold in this, the black gold, Honorable Speaker. And it is given that name, Honorable Speaker, because if you look at the earnings of coffee, Honorable Speaker, you cannot compare it with earnings from other crops, Honorable Speaker. They are fairly okay, but the coffee one, Honorable Speaker, is very good. Honorable Speaker, this bill has come at the right time so that we can be able to sort out the teething problems that we have in the coffee sector. So that, Honorable Speaker, we can be able to then ensure that the farmers of coffee in this country, Honorable Speaker, are able to earn as much money as the coffee fetches outside there, Honorable Speaker. This bill, Honorable Speaker, with the provisions that has, of course, with a few amendments, Honorable Speaker, is able to help us go ahead and strike a balance between the price of the cherry that the farmer gives to the cooperative, Honorable Speaker, during collection, and the cost of the coffee in the cup, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, it's surprising that a single spoon of coffee, Honorable Speaker, is costing us more than 400 shillings in the cafes, Honorable Speaker. But the farmer who actually tills the land, who procures the seedling, who actually tends to the crop, who actually goes ahead and pick the cherry, and of course, Honorable Speaker, is sure to take care of the cherry, Honorable Speaker, all the way to processing, is earning 1% of what one spoon, Honorable Speaker, of coffee is costing. And Honorable Speaker, looking at this bill and the provisions that herein, it is clear, Honorable Speaker, that we are going to bridge the gap between the coffee, the cherry, and the coffee in our cups, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm very happy about the direct settlement schemes that is actually properly anchored in this particular bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we've had a problem with our farmers waiting for so long for their money after the coffee has been sold. And I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that with this bill, we are going to ensure that a farmer is paid immediately the coffee is sold, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is a move that will get our farmers out of the circles of debts and loans, Honorable Speaker, that you are always asking for loans to pay farmers, and when the money comes, you are actually paying loans, and the farmers wait longer. And I'm pleased with that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, for a very long time, we've been witnessing issues of theft of coffee either on the road or in the storage, Honorable Speaker. And I am happy that this particular bill gives us a police unit that is able to guard this coffee, whether in the store or the warehouse or when it is on transit to where they are going to be sold, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this will help us to cut the organized crime, I would say, because when you follow the trail of the stolen coffee, it ends up somewhere, and that somewhere, Honorable Speaker, happens to be someone who deals with coffee anyway in the end. So I am very pleased with that. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I am happy about the introduction of a common structure. The common structure, Honorable Speaker, will help us manage the coffee sector properly and make sure that we are able to run it smoothly. Honorable Speaker, you are aware that the cooperatives in this country that deal with coffee, even the one in my village, as small as the structures are, as small as the institution is, keep and handle a lot of money. But you find that this particular cooperative does not even have an accountant, a proper accountant. There's a volunteer who just volunteers to do the math using a book that they have just drawn some lines in between it. And they also don't have auditors. Auditors that should be able to audit these accounts and be able to protect and take care of the farmers when the money hits the accounts of these cooperatives. And Honorable Speaker, we need that. I am happy about that particular part. And the proper records of farmers, especially for my county. We do not have a comprehensive record of the number of cooperatives that are handling coffee, and we have coffee being sold through those cooperatives. Honorable Speaker, that tells you we are also losing a lot of revenue because of that lack of data in that particular sector. I am also happy about the quality of coffee standardization, Honorable Speaker, not really standardization, but enhancing, because we have provisions here, Honorable Speaker, that will see to it that at least some studies and the mixing of the coffee, Honorable Speaker, will be looked into so that we have very high quality coffee coming from our farms and our people are able to get value for their farming. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this particular bill, albeit the amendments that we need to make, Honorable Speaker, because I noted with concern that this coffee industry is an industry that evolves every other time. It's an industry that actually needs a lot of expertise. It's an industry that needs people who run it, who understand what happens, and actually are professionals. Honorable Speaker, I support, or rather I will also be supporting the amendment on the qualifications, Honorable Speaker, because if we want to reap very good and very well from this sector, we must also equally invest in it. Investing in it with our professionals, ensuring that the people that we send there or the people that we second there in those boards, Honorable Speaker, are able to handle the issues of the coffee farmers. They are able to handle the emerging issues in the coffee sector so that our people can fetch the best prices and they can be able to do better coffee farming going to the future. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this particular bill with those amendments that will be coming through. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
MP for Saboti, Luai. Honorable Luai.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise